everybody, and welcome to the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. For come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. I'm Ace Edwards, right alongside
Connor Balthazar.
And welcome to this week's weekly recap, where the order this week is going to be men's basketball, baseball, and then women's basketball. And I think we're going to be more general with our thoughts on women's basketball because the same game basically happened twice. But let's just start off with the men's basketball team, who are seemingly on the up and up after we declared them dead. I think it was either last week or 2 weeks ago, where we just said, yeah, we're going to take the rest of the season as it is. And K-State ends up winning 2 games in a row. One against a ranked opponent in BYU in the Octagon of Doom. It was an 84-74 Wildcat victory in what was a more inspiring performance than we've been used to for the past 7-8 games before this, so a good month. But yeah, this was encouraging, and it was the first time in I think about a month where I watched this team and didn't want to die. So that's progress.
Yeah, Arthur Kaluma in particular has been really good against BYU. The 2 times he faced them, he was pretty clearly just out-athleting everybody. And our strategy, especially for this game, was pretty much to just let him do whatever he wanted. And it worked pretty well. He ends with 28 points in this one, 8 of 11 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3, 10 of 12 at the free throw line, and 10 rebounds. So he goes for a double-double and hyper-efficient on the offensive side of the ball. So it was one of the best offensive games anyone's had for K-State this year. Just 1 foul as well, and he added 4 assists to just 2 turnovers and a steal. So really, really great job from Arthur Kaluma. He ended up earning a Big 12 Newcomer of the Week honors, I believe, after his performances. But this was really excellent stuff from Kaluma. Tyler Perry, he had a pretty good game as well, all things considered. Played 37 minutes, 4 of 8 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3, and 4 of 5 on his free throw. So he had 16. Then he added 3 rebounds, 2 fouls, 5 assists, 3 turnovers, and a steal of his own. So pretty good there. Then Cam Carter, the outside scoring still struggling there over the last few games, but he still was 4 of 9 from the field despite his 0 of 3 from 3. And then he went 4 of 4 at the free throw line. So he still finished in double figures with 12. And he added 4 rebounds, 4 fouls, 3 assists, 2 turnovers, and then another steal. Day-Day Ames got another start here and played 23 minutes. 1 of 3 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, so just the 3 points there. Then 2 fouls, did add 4 assists to 2 turnovers, so pretty solid there. And then Jarrell Colbert played 19 minutes, had 2 points, missed 2 free throws, and then had 4 rebounds, 2 fouls, an assist, a block, and a steal. So a fairly productive and fairly average Jarrell Colbert's stat line, all things considered. We've been seeing him start a lot just for the hyper athleticism on defense and the high motor. He's not much of an offensive threat yet, but I think he's very close to being a really good player for K-State. It's just that right now he's just not going to be a dominant scorer. We don't need him to do that, and that's just not what he's good at. But I think with an offseason of work if you can spend an offseason working on scoring and being a little bit cleaner on the defensive end, a little less foul happy, then he could, I think, really take a big step forward.
Yeah. But from the bench, you have the top production from the bench was David Gasson, who played 24 minutes, 5 of 9 from the field, 2 of 4 in his free throws, which you take that with Dave. 5 rebounds, 2 of them being offensive, 2 fouls, 1 assist, 2 turnovers, a steal, and 12 total points. I will say that the highly publicized knee injury for David Gasson, he is playing hurt, and it's more than just that, and that's all I'll say. But the amount of effort that Dave has put in to sort of grit through the injuries that he's going through is really, it's commendable. But Will McNair played 20 minutes, 4 of 5 from the field, 3 of 4 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 2 fouls, 2 assists, 1 turnover, 11 total points. Then RJ Jones played 5 minutes. That is his stat line. But to me, the important one for this game is the field goal percentage, 56.3%, but the three-point percentage, 7 of 15, 46.7%. That is significantly better than we've been shooting from three for quite some time now. The free throw percentage being 74.2% is vaguely concerning, but I'll take that if we're going to shoot 47% from three.
I'm not worried about that free throw percentage, honestly. 74% is pretty good, all things considered, from the free throw line. Especially when our main free throw shooters are going to be guys like Kaluma and Perry and Carter, and they're pretty reliable there. You're just going to have to just take the hits with guys like Jarrell and Dave. They're just not going to make free throws as efficiently, and that's just kind of part of it. But Dave has been great these last few weeks. Will had a pretty nice game, despite his defensive lapses at times. Offensively, he is generally pretty reliable around the basket, and I think he's been getting a bit of a bad rap on his entire game, and I think a lot of that stems from defensive frustration because he does fall asleep defensively more than I'd like, but he is still pretty effective, and when we do throw the ball down to him in the post, which isn't as often as we'd think, but he's pretty efficient when he does get the ball.
Yeah. So this was a pretty big win for K-State, beating a ranked team, and when you and I had basically declared the season all but dead. And then we were so unbelievably back for a half, was so unbelievably back in the dirt for another half, and then somehow won. And that's the story of the West Virginia game. K-State ended up winning 94-90 in overtime, and there's absolutely no reason that it should have gotten to that point, because I think West Virginia, we were up by about 20, I think it was 28 or 29. West Virginia went on a 25-2 run. You can't have that. That's not how you win.
Yeah, at their peak, it was 31-7. And a lot of it was just they were hitting incredibly difficult shots, especially Raekwon Battle. But Kirk Risa was at times. It was just Battle and Risa were just single-handedly taking over the game. I mean, those two combined, they went 11 for 21 from three, which is pretty nuts. And the rest of the team combined, they only made 2 threes among the rest of them. But Raekwon Battle and Kirk Risa, they single-handedly willed this West Virginia team to the lead. And that's just the type of player that you have to deal with a guy like Raekwon Battle. Battle's just... he's just a natural-born scorer. I know at one point he had like 14 points in like 3 minutes of game time.
Yeah.
And like he can just take over at times like that. And he hit some pretty crazy threes, and we just weren't responding. And this took what was, in the first half, a just breath of fresh air, sigh of relief, whatever you want to call it, game, and turned it into a near all-time horrible, embarrassing loss. I'd say a win is a win, but not all wins are made the same, and this was a pretty bad one.
Yeah. I think you and I talked about this during the game, that it probably set the record for longest that you and I sat speechless on the couch, just not saying a word, because we're so unbelievably angry. You normally get quiet whenever frustrating things happen. I normally get louder. If I'm quiet, it means that something has gone horribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah, and this game was just a horribly embarrassing concoction of poor effort in the second half, thinking that we could just coast to the end and that West Virginia just wouldn't care and that we could just take it to the end. But that was not the case, and it took us way too long to wake up. Jerome Tang at one point called a timeout pretty early once West Virginia started making a run, but then he waited after that one way too long and was holding on to the timeouts for reasons unknown. But despite us probably not deserving to win this game. We end up winning in overtime. Drum Tang now is 12-0 in overtime. K-State has the single season record for overtime victories in a single season. Just
I wish we didn't have to hold that record.
I wish that too. I would rather just win in regulation, but
Take them as they come, I guess.
Yep.
But in terms of K-State starters, Tyler Perry was the leading scorer. 41 minutes, 7 of 12 from the field, 6 of 11 from 3, 9 of 10 on his free throw attempts. 4 rebounds, 4 fouls, 6 assists, 2 turnovers, 29 points. As much as we criticize Tyler Perry, because believe me, I've done it a lot. We both have, but mostly me, and I felt like I was being more brutal with it. He's come on really well in these last few games. So, obviously we give players their roses whenever they deserve them for as many times as we give them crap whenever they deserve it. We're nothing if not fair. But Cam Carter played 43 minutes, 4 of 13 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, 9 of 10 from the free throw line. 8 rebounds, 1 foul, 4 assists, 3 turnovers, 1 steal, 19 total points. Arthur Kaluma, 26 minutes, 3 of 10 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3. Got 5 of 6 on his free throws, 5 rebounds, 4 fouls, 4 assists, 3 turnovers, 1 steal, 13 total points. Excuse me. Day Ames, 25 minutes, 3 of 6 from the field, 3 of 5 on his free throw or on his 3-point attempts. Excuse me again. 3 rebounds, 1 foul, 2 turnovers, 9 total points. Then Jarrell Colbert, 16 minutes, 0 of 1 from the field, 0 of 2 on his free throws, but did get 7 boards. Unfortunately, ended up fouling out. 1 turnover, 1 block, 1 steal, and finished with no points. But again, Jarrell is just a freak athlete that we more or less deploy on defense to say, hey, go kill people.
Yeah. And this was a great game for Day, particularly in the first half. He had a great stretch in the first half. This was probably his best shooting day as a Wildcat, because that has been a big struggle for him this year. His 3-point shooting has been pretty wildly inconsistent and at times just not very good. But this game single-handedly brought his 3-point percentage up by like 4 or 5%. So he's up over 30 now, which still isn't great, but it's much better. And it's nice to hopefully see him turning a corner. Didn't have any assists in this game, but that wasn't really what we were asking him to do. And I think that hopefully Day kind of having this little jump at the end of the regular season is something that can carry him through the offseason. But there were still some notable bench players, particularly Will McNair and David Gasson. Those two guys were excellent in this game. Will went 6 of 8 from the field, did go 1 of 4 at the free throw line, but he finishes with 13 points, 7 rebounds, and then he had a very, very clutch layup near the end of regulation where I think it was Kaluma airballed at 3, but McNair was right there to catch it under the basket and put it right back up. He grabbed 7 boards, 4 of them on offense, a foul, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, and a block shot. So pretty good stuff from Will McNair. And David Gasson, he was really good in this game too. 3 of 5 from the field, and also made a 3 in this one. I think it was pretty late in the shot clock as well, and it was a perfect shot. It was really excellent.
Perfect.
And he went 1 of 3 at the free throw line. So he finishes with 8 points in this one, 10 rebounds, so not too far off from a double-double. And 3 of those were offensive rebounds. And he had 4 fouls, 2 assists, and 2 turnovers. So David Gasson, coming off the bench, he's been really quality. Will McNair, again, offensively has been pretty good. And then RJ Jones comes off the bench and plays 9 minutes. He hit a corner 3 at one point. He went 1 for 4 from the field. All of his attempts were 3s. And Taj Manning came in and got 2 fouls in 3 minutes. Some people were saying that it was because Tang was trying to coast the end. I'm pretty sure it was because Kaluma and Colbert had 4 fouls, and we just needed somebody to bridge the gap between that and the next media timeout. And I think that was more what it was than us, being up by quite a bit. Plus, he only played 3 minutes. But McNair and Gasson are the big stories off the bench from this one, and were generally really impressive for K-State down the stretch.
Yeah. So, despite this game turning very, very ugly and very, very unwatchable for quite a bit of time as a K-State fan, you still end up escaping, and that's kind of the best way that I would describe the game, is escaping. But in terms of the upcoming matchups, K-State has, I believe, all three of these are quad one opportunities. At Cincinnati, at KU, and versus Iowa State. We're gonna do our thing where we constantly mention at the end of every segment, we always say, here's what they have to do to make the postseason, or here's what they have to do for XYZ. Probably need to win to feel safe. Probably need to win 2 out of these 3 to feel safe. 1 out of the 3 I think you can get away with if you make a run in the Big 12 tournament, but I wouldn't feel particularly comfortable.
Where I'm sitting at right now is I think if you win one of these games, I would only feel all right if we made it to the title game for the Big 12 tournament. If we win 2 of these 3 in any combination, with the exception of maybe at KU and then a home against Iowa State, which I'm not banking on, if we win 2 of those 3, then I think we need to pick up a game, maybe 2. In the Big 12 tournament, but it could vary depending on who loses ahead of us. Like last night, I think 4 bubble teams lost.
Yeah,
Providence lost, Texas A&M lost, Ole Miss lost, and somebody else lost. Which we're still behind all of them right now, but we are in the next 4 out according to Lenardi right now. But all of these quad one opportunities are huge. If K-State can pick up 2, that's going to put us right on the threshold. We're going to be in that, last team in, first team out, give or take 1 or 2 sort of range if we get 2 of these 3, which Cincinnati is going to be a tough matchup. They're a pretty good defensive team across the board. Their offense is abysmal, but they do play good team defense across the board. KSU fan was on Bosco's Boys, and he described them as Iowa State light, which we did hang around with Iowa State for a pretty decent amount of time in Hilton. But
I'm still angry about that game.
Yeah, hopefully we are still angry about it as well when we get them for a senior night. And of course, at KU is never going to be easy, but it is likely they'll be without Kevin McCullough. They just lost a head scratcher to BYU at home. This KU team has been its most vulnerable since probably 2018 or 19, I think, when Dedrick Lawson was their main guy. But this is a pretty vulnerable KU team, although I'm not going to bank or even hope really for a win at Allen. I'll believe it when I see it at this point.
I don't entertain possibilities of ever winning an Allen in both men's and women's basketball, because every time I've done that, it's like loading a shotgun and immediately pointing it at your kneecap.
Yeah, because the last time we beat KU and Allen, I think I was 7 or something like that. No, I would have. It was something around there, 6 or 7. But Cincinnati, that's a game that some are calling it an elimination game. I wouldn't go quite that far if we were able to go on a run in the tournament, but it could effectively be one if we don't play our cards right.
Yeah.
But we need to win these, at least 2 of the next 3.
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. But now we can move into the Batcats, and I guess we'll start with the 2 big bits of news, both regarding injuries to starting pitching. Ty Rule ended up leaving the first game after a few innings with, I believe it was an elbow or a forearm. So he's probably out for, conservatively, 2 or 3 weeks. But the big one is losing Tyson Neighbors for a month or so. It's muscular, so who knows how long he'll be out. But I would say we probably get him back for conference play. And with the rise of Jack Wentworth and Blake, I was about to say Micah, Blake Dean, not related as far as we know, but with the rise of them, it hurts slightly less. Don't get me wrong, losing your All-American closer will always suck. and there's nothing really that you can say about it. But, it is what it is, and sometimes you can't help the injury bug. But you'll notice the first thing with this, goodness gracious, this series up against Holy Cross, who for some reason was RPI 45 going into this series, which is still early. That almost certainly won't hold. But if it does, neat. But neither here nor there, pitching was the issue for K-State in this series. And we went back as far as the end of last year, saying that, yeah, this next year's team will be really, really good with the lineup. It just comes down to pitching. It was always really going to be the pitching, which, lo and behold, it was. If you look at the scoring summary for the first game, you will see 28 total runs being scored, which, goodness gracious. And it started off with a leadoff home run on the second pitch of the game by Holy Cross, and it was all downhill from there. We won the game, but still, this is one of the least convincing wins that we possibly could have had.
Yeah, this was a really rough start for Tyrell after he had a really good first start of the year, but he left early after not pitching very well, and supposedly is injured. We don't know the extent. I'm not super optimistic right now, though. But getting into the lineup, Nick English, he led off in this game. The true freshman drew a walk and then went 1 for 4 and had an RBI and then 1 strikeout. So pretty solid day for him. Brendan Jones drew 3 walks in his own right and then had 1 hit and 1 RBI. He doubled. And then Chuck Ingram, he went 1 for 4 and drew a walk as well. Kalen Culpepper also going 1 for 4, drawing a walk. Brady Day, not a great day for him. 1 for 5.
You thought about it for a minute there.
I was trying to think of a better way to say it, but there wasn't. Jaden Lobliner, though, has kind of been the story of the season so far, and he's continued that, at least through this game. I went 3 for 4 with 5 RBI, including a home run. Did not strike out. Didn't leave anybody on base. He has been excellent. He's batting around 400, just a little under in the 390s right now. He's been great. Then Daniel Rivera, he went 2 for 3, added a home run of his own.
And the home run was a nuke.
Yeah, just obliterated a baseball. And drew a walk as well. He scored 4 runs in this game, and I believe this was the game where he stole home.
This was the game where he stole home.
Yeah, Daniel Rivera found himself number 2 on the SportsCenter top 10 after just a straight up steal of home, which was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. But it situationally actually ended up making perfect sense because the pitcher was going out of windup and had a slow windup. And Rivera just took advantage of that and just got a great jump and got around the tag, and that was that. It was pretty hilarious. It's just one of those moments where all you can do is laugh, I guess. Rafael Pelletier added a home run of his own, had 3 RBI, and he drew a walk. Almost everybody in the lineup drew a walk except for Brady Day, oddly enough.
So strange.
And then Jaden Lobliner. Then David Bishop, 2 for 4. And he drew a walk as well, and he had an RBI.
3 stolen bases.
Yep, 3 stolen bases for Bishop, although he was picked off at one point. But that's honestly not the worst trade-off in the world. 1 pickoff to 3 stolen bases. And Bishop, he had a double as well. So a pretty solid hitting day, all things considered. K-State did leave 7 on, but Chuck Ingram left 5. Of those guys. He's been pretty inconsistent. And also Kalen Culpepper had a rare error in this game.
Yeah. Now we can talk about the pitching. Tyrell started the game, only went 1 1/3, giving up 5 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks to only 1 strikeout and a hit by pitch. 50 pitches, and then ended up leaving due to injury. Josh Wintrob gave up 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 total runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. So, I mean, a fine outing. You want to get the earned runs down for 2 2/3, but you'll take that whenever you're borderline a spot starter at that point. Cole Weisenbaker, tough day. 1 inning, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 strikeout, 1 hit by pitch. I mean, I think the worst part is that a lot of those at-bats, he was kind of flirting with disaster. But, only giving up 1 earned run, that's not bad. You'll take those. Sam Roberts, 1 1/3 inning, only giving up 1 hit, 1 walk, and a strikeout. Adam Arthur, the notorious roller coaster enjoyer, 1 1/3, 1 hit, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, and a hit by pitch. And then Jack Wentworth, who is on a massive redemption arc from previous seasons, or I guess one previous season. 1 1/3, no hits and no earned runs, only 1 walk to 2 strikeouts and a hit by pitch. So, first off, a lot of people got hit by pitches today, strangely enough. But it was, all in all, it's just a forgettable. I mean, offensively, it was a great day. I don't want to take away from that, but you need more from your pitching, and that came back to bite us in the next game up against Holy Cross. And, sometimes you go into extra innings and you run out of gas, and that's kind of what happened here. We sort of ran out of bullpen arms that we trusted and left Blake Dean in there for too long, but we'll just go ahead and talk about the lineup anyway. In terms of major contributors, Brendan Jones batted second, got 2 hits, an RBI, and 3 walks. Chuck Ingram went 1 for 6, but the one that he got was that home run that literally broke K-State baseball analytics.
Yeah, we will never know exactly how far it went, but they said it did go over the screen.
Yeah.
That's supposed to catch fly balls. So, if I'm going to wager an honest guess, I'd imagine it was closer to 500 than 400.
Yeah.
And it was probably a lot closer.
Because I think they said the exit velo was 107 with a launch angle of 44.1 degrees.
Yeah.
But Kalen Culpepper also hit a home run. It was a nuke in his own right. It was his 1 hit on the day, but 3 RBI, 2 base on balls, and 2 strikeouts. Brady Day was a 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs, 1 walk. Loebeliner only went 1 for 6 with 1 RBI, so it was his worst day, but that's saying not much considering how good he's been. Then Rafi went 1 for 3 with 2 walks, was pinch hit for later in the game for Jaden Parsons. And David Bishop ended up taking the unfortunate offer with a walk, a strikeout, and a guy left on base. So, in terms of offensive production, 8 hits, 13 walks, you'll end up taking those, but, 12 left on base is brutal, and again, it's mostly coming from one guy. But, it's fine, I guess. And Connor, I apologize that you are now left with the pitchers.
Now, Jacob Frost picks up the start here after a decent first start. Just really, really rough day for him in his home debut. Just getting out of 1 inning. Only gave up 2 hits, but 5 earned runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, and a hit by pitch. So, abject disaster in 8 batters faced. Pretty horrendous outing. 48 pitches across 1 inning. Doesn't get much worse than that. We did get our first look at, I believe, true freshman James Guyette, who went 2 1/3, 4 hits, 3 earned, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, and 51 pitches. He, all things considered, for the first time that we've seen him in, again, a very difficult situation, could have been a lot worse. And he got off to a good start. It just kind of got away from him. Though after that, we saw the first appearance of the season for Andrew Evans, who had a really good summer. He went 2 2/3 with just 2 hits, 1 unearned run, and 3 strikeouts, and 52 total pitches. So, all in all, pretty solid day for Andrew Evans. And then Blake Dean came in and was really dominant for most of his outing. He just got left in for a little bit too long.
For 3 1/3 innings, he was the best pitcher of the year for K-State. And then that last third where he just got left in for too long happened.
Yep, he went 3 2/3, gave up 4 hits, 4 runs. 3 of those were earned. Just 1 walk to 9 strikeouts and a hit batter. 67 pitches when it's all said and done. Blake Dean is going to be, and currently is, a very good pitcher for K-State. And I really like him. We just were trying to get a little bit more out of him so we didn't have to go deeper into the bullpen, which I understand because being able to get out of situations like that can be a massive confidence boost, a huge moment for a pitcher. But sometimes you just have to make the change. And that ultimately cost us the game, leaving him in just a little bit too long. Cole Weisemaker came in and got the last out. He gave up 1 hit before he did it, but then he forced a ground out. So Blake Dean gets credited with the loss. He's been credited with 2 losses, actually, this year, which is unfortunate because Blake Dean has otherwise been really, really good for K-State as a true freshman. And frankly, at this point in his career is more dominant than Tyson was at this point in his career. I'm not saying he's going to be Tyson. I'm saying...
Oh, you're saying he's going to be better, obviously.
Yes, of course. That's what I'm saying. But Blake Dean has been very, very impressive as a true freshman. He's someone that we had our eye on throughout the offseason. I did not expect him to be doing this early, but it's nice to get over-validation, I guess, from Blake Dean. But he's somebody to keep an eye on, especially with Tyson Neighbors being out for a little while. Blake Dean is going to slide into kind of sharing the closer role with Jackson Wentworth, which if it's going to be those 2 guys in the closer role, it's about as good a situation as you could possibly ask for. If you can't have Tyson Neighbors, you cannot do much better than having 2 guys who are going to fill the void pretty effectively, I think.
Yeah. Also, this is your reminder that wins and losses are not a pitcher's stat. Yes. Anyway, the last game of the series was a lot more, we'll say, not bad from pitching. K-State ended up winning 5-4 on 6 hits, only 1 error on the day. And this was, weirdly enough, a day 3 start from Owen Borima. I think you and I were projecting Mason Buss to be the starter here, but I guess because there's no midweek games, why not throw out Borima?
Yeah, I think that was it. And he also needed some extra rest because he did pitch the game against Arizona State on that Tuesday. But yeah, it was definitely a more subdued day for both teams offensively. Brendan Jones went back to the leadoff spot for this one. Didn't record a hit, but he did draw 2 walks. And Brady Day, he does go 0 for 4 and leave 5 on. Just pretty brutal there. He's kind of had a rough start to the year. But he did get hit by a pitch, so he saw base once. And then Kalen Culpepper, he went 1 for 5 with an RBI. So another rough day for Culpepper. I think he's maybe a little bit too amped going into the season right now. Pretty much every at-bat he's treating as an opportunity to add to his home run stats, which...
He's trying to be Nick Goodwin.
Yeah, which, to be fair, when he is getting a hold of a pitch, it is going a really long way. Like, I don't blame him for doing that, but I think that he is just kind of stuck in that cycle of wanting to live up to the expectations, which he's still been having a really good start to the year, all things considered. Nick English, he batted cleanup, went 1 for 4, left 1 on. Carson Queck, he pinch ran or defensive subbed for him at some point. I can't remember exactly why Queck came in. Chuck Ingram went 2 for 3. In this one, he had a double and drew a walk as well. Scored 2 runs. Mason Schwalbach got his first start of the year. And he was in the DH role. Went 1 for 4 with an RBI. Left 3 on, though, and did strike out once. But he was somebody that was kind of in the mix to be in the starting lineup to begin the year. but this is the first time that we saw him. And so he was in the DH spot, and Jaden Lobliner played first because he went 2 for 4, 3 RBI. He hit another home run. So another great day for Jaden Lobliner. And David Bishop came in defensive subbed for him late in the game. Daniel Rivera, he went 3 for 3 in this game, and then also drew a walk. And Rafael Pelletier finished off the lineup going 1 for 4. But all in all, it was a decent day for the Bats. We did leave a lot of runners on in this one again, which is just going to be a theme where for some reason we're just not good with the bases loaded. But we've been good with 2 outs, just not with the bases loaded.
Yeah. Dude, I guess I wouldn't trade the 2-out prowess, but jeez, man.
Yeah, it's been a pretty rough start to the year in terms of when we have the bases loaded. I don't think we have a hit yet. We have scored with the bases loaded. We've drawn, I think, a walk or 2, and Daniel Rivera stole home one time. But also notable, K-State stole a ton of bases this weekend. Their catcher just did not have a good arm, and we took full advantage. Rivera took 2 in this game. Chuck Ingram had a steal. He's not exactly the fastest guy in the world. Kalen Culpepper had a steal. Brady Day had a steal. Brendan Jones, which he is a good base stealer generally, but he also had one. Just a solid day, all things considered, for us on the base paths, although Daniel Rivera did get picked off at one point. But it was a decent enough day. It got the job done sort of day for the offense.
Yeah. Which, given what we saw before, yeah, we'd take those. Owen Borma was your starting pitcher. He ended up going 5 2/3, only giving up 4 hits and 2 earned runs, 4 walks, 11 strikeouts. I believe he's leading the nation in strikeouts right now.
He is. He has 24 on the year, I think, through like 13 1/3 innings.
It's either 24 or 27. I don't remember which.
Regardless, he's got a lot of strikeouts this year and has really been pretty good, all things considered. He hasn't been perfect. Last year, to end the season, he was really effective. But I'd say, honestly, he might be off to a better start this year than last year because he had a couple of rough outings to begin last season, as I recall.
Yeah, and you can also tell that he's picked up the velo on his fastball. He's up to 90-91 now.
Yeah, which that's like not just like a modest increase.
That's like 6.
Yeah, that because last year he was sitting probably 86-ish, 87 on a good day. So yeah, 4 or 5, maybe even 6 miles an hour.
Yeah. But it was only 2 pitchers for K-State today. The other was Jack Wentworth, who ended up going 3 1/3, 2 earned runs on 2 hits, 3 strikeouts, notably no walks, and I think that's the big one there. But yeah, taking 2 of 3 versus Holy Cross, you obviously want to take 3 of 3, but RPI seems to like them, so maybe it's not all that bad of a loss, but I think we said it that there's no such thing as a good loss.
Yeah.
But the next series is up against UMass Lowell right before we leave for probably the most important 2-game stretch of the season. Yes, I am including conference play. Up against Tennessee and Clemson. Clemson did lose a head-scratcher like 14-0 to Kennesaw State. So, college baseball, I guess. But Tennessee is always going to be good. And I don't think there's going to be a more important 2-game series for K-State other than that Tennessee-Clemson 1-2 punch that you get on the road on back-to-back days. So you have to do traveling as well. So it's not easy. It's not an easy series, and it's one that you'll have to really, really watch to see the barometer of where this team is at. I still am extremely concerned with pitching, especially with rule out, where, I mean, we didn't even know who our weekday starter was going to be. Now we have our weekday guy probably having to move up to be the Sunday guy right before you have the Tuesday-Wednesday outing. So we probably see Borama on Friday go like 3 innings or something like that. And, you know, it's just, there's a lot of questions with the rotation right now, with Rule being hurt. There's just a lot of questions about pitching in general, because we have a butt ton of JUCO guys who had high strikeout rates, and right now it kind of just seems like a lot of them are just kind of guys right now.
Yeah, there's been a few decent enough appearances so far. Sam Roberts was granted a very specialized pitcher, but he was decent enough. I think Wintrub could, once he settles in, be a good pitcher. Of course, Blake Dean's been really good so far. I would say that there are more, funnily enough, there's more pitchers that I'm comfortable with in the long run this season, I think, than last year. It's just that last year, I'm not really sure what the difference was, but it's still really early in the year. It'll be easier to make an evaluation once we're really into the season, but as of right now, I think that there's more guys that have the potential to be good than were on last year's staff, because there weren't enough guys that have stepped up last year. Right now, we're at least rotating through a lot of guys that seem like they could maybe make a difference.
Yeah. Excuse us, I guess we have elephants right above us, but now we get into the women's team, which the same game happened twice, basically. A loss up against KU, 55-58, and then a loss up against Iowa State, 76-82. There's a reason why I say it was the same game twice, and there's a reason why my tone has changed so drastically, because this team has chosen the absolute worst time to start laying eggs. Now, in order to host, or even have a hope at hosting in the NCAA tournament, we probably have to at least make the semifinals or the finals of the Big 12 tournament. At minimum, we need to beat Oklahoma, because right now Oklahoma is the 16th overall seed. So we need to find some way to beat Oklahoma or Texas, which, granted, I think is doable in the Big 12 tournament, or outright win it. But just these two games were I think demoralizing is probably the best way to put it, because you and I both know damn well that this team is better than what they showed in these last two games. You and I know that, certainly.
Yeah. The last two games have been just horribly frustrating, because both times it's been very winnable games that we've just lost at near the end. And the KU game and the Iowa State game, it seems like our defense has taken a major step back. Iowa State was just running the same action, where just isolating a guard and whoever Yokeli is on to one side and just running pick and roll over and over and over, because whatever decision we made there, it was the wrong one. And we're just not really adjusting. Last year, we had some major issues adjusting on defense, and we're kind of seeing the same thing happen, just the flip side of the coin, where last year we were stuck in zone, this year we're stuck in man, or at the very least, we're not adjusting our principles for the way that we're being attacked when Aoka Lee is in the game. And it's that we just can't defend the short pick and roll. And if that's going to continue, then this team is going to not host and lose in the first weekend. And this K-State women's basketball team, instead of going down as a team that, made a deep run in the NCAA tournament and won the Big 12 and did all this stuff, they would just kind of be a footnote and another talented team that underachieved in the history of K-State women's basketball, which there are many teams like that in the history of K-State women's basketball, where we very famously in the early 2000s had some incredible teams that didn't do a whole lot when it was all said and done. And this team deserves better, and they just, kind of like last year, are running out of steam at the worst possible time.
And this was the concern you and I had at the beginning of this month. And we also said it in the summer that this is going to be the most talented, probably pound for pound, the most talented team that K-State had across all athletics this year. And what did we say it was going to come down to? Coaching. We said it was going to come down to coaching. And no, we're not, at least I'm not, I don't want to speak for you, but I think you're a reasonable human being. So we're not on the fire Jeff Mittie train.
I am not on that train.
Thank God. But I'm not even going to say I understand the people who are. Because the main problem is we need to hire an offensive coach, and Mittie needs to stop being stubborn. Those are the two. I don't mean offensive coaches and like fire Mittie. I mean like an offensive assistant coach. Preferably keep whichever one of the assistant coaches coaches the guards, because I don't think the guards are the problem. But in fact, I think most of the guards are quite good. But it's just, to steal a phrase that I always steal from, this team has all of the notes that they need to make a beautiful symphony, but just can't manage to make them sound right together. And it's so disappointing, because we're, a top 20, we're almost a unanimously top 20 team, but just fading towards the end and having it be because we're not adjusting coaching is just not adjusting. And you see flashes and moments where this team shows their talent and they overcome that, and you're like, yes, please, more of that. Please, Serena Sundell, realize that you were the best player on the court other than Ayoka Lee at any given moment in time. Please, Taryn, realize that, first off, you're not Marquise Noel, but also that you are really good at running the offense and getting assists. Please, Zai Walker, realize that you have a good outside shot. Please, Eliza Maupin, realize you're more athletic than everyone. Yoki. That's all. No, she's still good. But you just see these flashes, and you're like, damn it, why can't we make everything click like it was earlier in the year?
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that was number 2 in the country at one point.
2 weeks ago.
Was it?
2 or 3 weeks ago.
I was going to say, not 2 weeks, but we're probably going to fall to around 20 in the next polls, depending on how our game in Lubbock goes, which on paper should be a win, but I am no longer willing to sit here and write it in as an automatic win. But I mean, this was a team that controlled its own destiny to win the conference outright, and instead, down the stretch, had a gutsy win at Baylor, and then just dropped heartbreaker after heartbreaker, and just kept barely skating by, but it was nothing but skating by and just absolute heartbreakers. This team has admittedly not ever been in a game this year where they've been out of it. Even the Texas game where they weren't playing well, they came back. Mm-hmm. And they showed a ton of fight in that game. But they are just not finishing. And it's so frustrating because the talent is obviously there. We have really good players. We're just not adjusting. And it's very, very frustrating.
Yeah.
Because we should be still, based on our talent, we should still be in the running to win the conference. And instead, we're thoroughly eliminated and not even going to have a shot. And not that long ago, we controlled our own destiny in the conference title race. And just, we're going to need a really good postseason run for this season to not go down as just an objective disappointment.
Yeah, especially with how it started. And ever since controlling our own destiny, which I qualify as after the BYU game, this team is 3-5. Which, losing by 3 to Oklahoma when you don't have Ayoka Lee, that sucks. But the Oklahoma and Texas losses are understandable. Do I like it? No. Should we have probably won those games, especially the one up against Oklahoma? Probably. But I don't think we were beating Texas and Austin without Ayoka Lee. But we still probably should have beat Oklahoma. Those 2 losses I understood, because that makes sense to me. The loss against Iowa State, granted, it's because Hilton is hell, and it has nothing to do with, Hilton mad at, shut up. I lost by 3 there. That one's less explainable. being in a close one up against UCF and requiring a complete brain fart from UCF to win the game in regulation. West Virginia was a good win. And then losing to KU and Iowa State on the exact same action. Like that's not a team that is... I don't want to say they're not playing to win, because I do think the team is playing hard. I just think that the team can sometimes just not have the coaching behind them to sort of reward their efforts. Because I don't believe that it's an effort issue, because it's almost certainly not. Sometimes it even looks like they're trying too hard, and that causes them to overshoot on a lot of their bunnies and their layups. I'm mostly looking at two players here who shall remain nameless. But, you know, it's damn frustrating. But, you know, and maybe this is me huffing copium, but if we do end up beating either Oklahoma or Texas in the Big 12 tournament, we probably end up sliding back into hosting a top 16 game, and we almost certainly end up hosting if we win or are in the finals of the Big 12 tournament. But that's not a guarantee anymore.
Yeah, we have played ourselves out of a obvious hosting opportunity, which getting to host NCAA tournament games and women's basketball is just such a massive advantage that it cannot be overstated how incredible that is to get extra home games as well. It's great for revenue. It's great for the team because it's easier to just remain at home and not have to travel for those first two rounds. But we are on a very narrow tightrope if we want to still find a way to host. And that's just the most disappointing thing about it all is it's entirely our fault that we're in that position. It's really not like, you know, the world's out to get us. We're just not playing good basketball. The last month, really, it's been not very good basketball. And in the list of games you mentioned earlier, we didn't talk about nearly losing to a 6-player Oklahoma State team.
Oh my God.
That isn't particularly great.
And had one of their major bench contributors, who happened to be a former K-State player, destroy her knee within 30 seconds of her entering the game.
Yeah, it's just a really, really disappointing turn to what has otherwise been a fantastic and unforgettable season. This last month could really sour the memory of this team, but there is still hope for them to turn it around, and that starts this Saturday against Texas Tech in Lubbock. They absolutely have to take care of business against Texas Tech. If they do not beat Texas Tech, I will be extremely sad, and it'll be Jeff Mitty's fault, and I hope he knows.
If we don't donkey roll Texas Tech, I'm going to be concerned, because Texas Tech is bad. I'm not going to, sometimes I don't like mincing words, because, if we beat them, it feels like it's diminishing the loss, and if we lose to them, it especially feels bad. Texas Tech is bad. They are unambiguously a bad basketball team. And now I'm worried. And that shouldn't be happening. Not with this team. Not with this team.
No. And I'm hopeful that we can do well in Kansas City, which even last year, when our team was not as good as it is this year, we had our best, maybe our fourth or third best performance of the year in what ended up still being a loss against, I think it was Texas.
It was, because we kept it really competitive with them the entire game when I expected to get absolutely just rolled over.
Yeah. And so it's not out of the question for us to go into Kansas City, especially because we won't be playing on the first day. No matter what happens, we will not be playing on the first day because we've done enough to get at least one bye. But it's still going to be an uphill battle from what should have been a team that would get an easy 1 seed in the Big 12 tournament to now we're hoping, crossing our fingers, that we'll get a
Double bye.
A double bye. I'm not sure where we stand on that right now. I think we're right on the edge.
We're either 4th or 5th.
Yeah, right now we are 3rd, which I think could change to 4th, but I think we've probably locked in a double bye, no matter what, because the other options are Iowa State, Baylor, and West Virginia, and we would have head-to-head against Baylor and West Virginia. We wouldn't against Iowa State, but that's the only team that could pass us. But if we win, then we have double bye, and that's a massive, massive, massive advantage. So if we can do that, then I think it's just 3 games to make it to the finals. So if we win 2 in the Big 12 tournament plus Texas Tech, that would be nice. I don't know if it'll be enough, but it'll be close, and it's not unrealistic.
Yeah, it entirely depends on who we beat in those 2 games. We beat Oklahoma, and we beat Texas. We either have to beat Oklahoma and someone else, or we have to beat Texas once. Because I think Texas is like the 3rd overall seed right now.
Yeah, and if we don't face either of those 2 teams, then
we're probably screwed.
I think if we win the if we don't face either of those teams, that means that both of them lost.
Yeah, it means they got bounced round 1.
And if Oklahoma loses, then they're not going to be hosting because they're right on the edge as well.
They're 16th seed.
So if we were to win out and like win the conference tournament, that might be enough. But I do think it would be better if we got one last shot against probably particularly Oklahoma. I think that's going to be the better matchup. But we'll just have to wait and see. I'm still just really frustrated about how the season's gone late, but not all hope is lost.
Yeah. Have any final notes before we sign off?
Tennis starts conference play. The day this releases against Iowa State. They're 6-2 and ranked number 58. I don't know anything else about our tennis team.
You already know more than most other people.
That is true.
Anyway, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. If you want to follow or contact the show, you can follow us just about anywhere at Aggieville Alleycats. And if you want to email us, we're AggievilleAlleycats@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on a more personal note, I'm at ACEdward00.
I'm at Connor Baltazar, capital C, capital B.
And if you want to support the show financially, please be sure to check out both the official supporters link and the official Aggieville Alleycats merch store, both linked in our Twitter and podcast bios. But most importantly, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast, where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. Stay safe, Alleycats.